Okay, Rabbi Willem asked me to give a shir chassidus. My name is Gavriel Levin. I live in Postville. I'm teaching the yeshiva over there. So one of the gentlemen here told me before that we went through Basi Lagani over the past few days, so maybe a different topic. So I think we'll talk about some Tanya, specifically the chapters 27, 28, and 29. 26, 27, 28, 29. In the introduction to Tanya, the Alter Rabbi writes that he's going to be writing in the Tanya, besides the general guidance on how to serve Hashem and how to develop feelings towards Hashem of Av and Yira. In addition, he's going to answer all of the questions to give all the answers to all of the questions. Any question that somebody might have in service of God, study the Tanya and you'll find the answer. The Alter Rebbe continues and he says, and if someone is going to study the Tanya won't be able to find the answer, so the Alter Rebbe says, I hereby turn to all the older Hasidim that are more experienced in studying Hasidus, and I'm commanding them that if anybody comes to them with a dilemma and the person claims that he cannot find the solution to his problem in Tanya, so please, the Alter Rebbe tells his Hasidim, make sure to explain it to them. Make sure, don't be a minei bar, don't withhold the treasures that there are there in Chassidus. Rather, you should teach it to them. The Alter Rebbe then gives them a blessing of Meir Ein Shneim Hashem, that when someone teaches somebody else, Hashem rewards him, that the teacher and the student both end up gaining from it. So, throughout the Tanya, there are many answers to many questions, but most of Tanya is not really in the question and answer format. Most of it is not, okay, if you have this and this problem, then this is the solution. Most of the Tanya is teaching the way of serving Hashem. Most of Tanya is describing the neshama, describing the different struggles that the neshama, the person has, and talking about what it means to be a Beinani. As we know, that Tanya is called the Sefer Shel Beinani. But these few chapters, from 26 through 34, there are 9 chapters. In those chapters, Alter Rebbe starts and he says, if somebody has specific issues, then these are the solutions to those problems. So here, the Alter Rebbe deviates, so to speak, from the general theme of Tanya, which is explaining how a person should serve God, by pointing out, if you have problem A, then this is a solution for problem A. Problem B, this is a solution for problem B, etc., etc. In general, he breaks up the general problems that he speaks about from 26 through 34. He breaks them up to 2 general complaints or problems that people have. One problem, he says, is depression. And the second problem, he calls it timtum halev or kavdus, which would, I think, the best translation would be lack of interest. So, the Alter Rebbe says that even though I have taught the first 25 chapters how one is meant to serve God, with love and with fear, but if someone is depressed, he won't really be successful in the serving of God. Likewise, if someone's not interested, then he's not interested. So for these problems, the Alter Rebbe has these chapters, 26 through 34. So we want to talk today about 26 through 29, which is focusing on depression. From 29 and on, he focuses on the second problem, on the problem of someone that's not interested. But the problem of depression, that he speaks about from 26 through 29, 28 really, 26, 27, 28. 29 is already going on to the next problem. Now the Rebbe starts off by saying that there are different reasons for depression, and he says that regardless of the reason, one is meant to serve Hashem with joy. If somebody is unhappy, then unfortunately it can be a deterrent for a service of Hashem, and it can lead to terrible things. And it's a must to serve Hashem with happiness. And this is the beginning of chapter 26. Before he gets into the details of what might be a reason for someone to be depressed, he just says in general, a person has to serve Hashem happy. And he gives an example when it comes to wrestling. And he says by wrestling, when you have 2 wrestlers having a fight, so it doesn't always work by who has more weight, it doesn't necessarily work by who's stronger physically. A lot of times the one is more quick, or in Yiddish I say flink, I think it's agile is the word. So agile, right? So a person that's more agile, sometimes by maneuvering around the right kind of way, he can win, even though he's not as...
I'm the only guy that is allowed to interrupt. First of all, Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi.
You're being recorded. You're being recorded.
I can be recorded,
Not only do you interrupt what we're doing shears and you come into a shear with someone else, and you do this in person.
First, I want to give Rabbi levin. He slept out all the way from Postville, Iowa. You know what? You think this place is bad? Postville, Iowa is hinted the Buntox. You know what I mean? Okay. Anyways, man is a great mashpia, a great Rosh Hashiva. Oh, you did? Yeah. Take advantage of him, and use him out. He's going to teach us Chassidus today, and then for all those.
My claim to fame is that my uncle is Rabbi Wilhelm's brother.
And Rabbi Groner, the Rebbe's secretary, is his grandfather.
That's his brother's father-in-law.
It's his grandfather.
His brother's father-in-law.
I just didn't catch the name. I'm sorry.
Who?
Rabbi Wilhelm.
No, what's your name?
His brother.
No, he wants to know your name.
My name, Gavriel Levin.
Levin.
And one last thing, you want his credit card number too?
Sure.
Okay, anyways, I'm sorry I came late. Pesach, you feel fine? You're not feeling good? Oh, Pesach, you scare me. Every year
Everything's recorded.
Good. You think I'm afraid of the Eibushter. I'm not afraid of that.
You were saying the more agile a person is.
This is my present to you.
In wrestling, right. So in wrestling, it's not just about power. It's not just about what the weight class that a person is. A person has a strategy and being agile. And basically what it boils down to is being swift and being interested, being happy about it. When someone's happy and excited about the fight, then often enough he'll win, even though the other person might be physically stronger than him. So the Alter Rebbe says similarly in our battle with our Yetzer Hara, so it's not just about strength, it's about the happiness. And when someone is motivated, in the right mood and happy, then he can go ahead and fight his Yetzer Hara and be positive and be upbeat and not give in to distractions that we have and to be pushing in the right direction, studying and praying, etc. So the Alter Rebbe then goes on to discuss reasons for depression. So in these 3 chapters, there's really 3 or 4 potential reasons why a person might be depressed. Later on in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says that sometimes a person is depressed for no reason at all, which seemingly would be just a medical condition. But the Alter Rebbe says if someone is depressed for no reason at all, he says that later, then all the suggestions he's going to suggest now, the solutions, won't really apply, because if there's no reason, then it can't be a solution. Then the Alter Rebbe talks for that a different answer. But Alter Rebbe first talks about 4 reasons for depression, or 3 reasons for depression. And he explains each reason, and then he explains what the solution would be. So these are reasons that when someone is depressed, the person understands why he's depressed. He knows what's causing it, and therefore he can, like we said, if there's no reason why a person's depressed, you can't really talk to him. Sometimes today they would call it a medical condition. The Alter Rebbe has a different solution for that. But if somebody knows why he's depressed, which more often than not, a person does know why he's in a bad mood, a person does know what made him upset. So for that, the Alter Rebbe has solutions. So the first reason for depression. The Alter Rebbe says the first reason for depression is what's included in general. He calls it inyoni de olma, any matters from this world. And in general, the 3 major categories of things in this world that can bother a person are bane, chayo, mezoine. Bane meaning children, chayo meaning health, and mezoine meaning parnosa, livelihood. In general, the reasons why someone might be depressed is because of problems with his children, which would include family, chayo, problems with his health, and mezoine, problems with his job, with his boss, with his colleagues at work, etc. These are all included in inyoni de olma. There might be other matters of the world. The common denominator between these 3 things is that it's not up to the person. It's not that he did anything wrong over here. The circumstances of life always end up throwing us curveballs, and there's always reasons for someone to be depressed that he couldn't do anything about it. Health matters usually are beyond our control, and so too livelihood, of how the boss will treat us, and how the children grow up. It's not always been in our control. So these are things which can cause a person to be depressed. Really, this is probably the most common reason for most adults. We'll see later that the 3rd reason is more common by younger people, but this reason is most common by most older people. And for this, the Alter Rebbe really, throughout the Tanya, he has later in Tanya 2 other places where he addresses this problem, a person that's depressed because of things that are beyond his control, and he gives 2 other types of solutions. So right now we're trying to summarize what it says in chapter 26. But later on in Tanya, there are altogether 4 or 5 sections. There's Likutei Amorim, and there's Shara Yichud V'Amuna, then there's Igeres HaTshuva, and then there's Igeres HaKodesh, which Igeres HaKodesh has a 5th part to it, like another supplement to it, which is called Kuntras Achrin. So in Igeres HaKodesh, which is the 4th section of Tanya, there are 2 other places where he addresses this problem. But as of now, like we said, we're holding over here, we're holding in chapter 26, in the first part of Tanya, where for all these problems, all these reasons for depression, the Rebbe's solution is, based on what the Gemara says, that Keshem shemevarich al hara kach mevarich al hatoiva. The Gemara says that just like one is supposed to bless God for bad things that happen to him, he's supposed to bless God for good things that happen to him, so too he has to bless God for bad things that happen to him. So the Gemara asks, what does that mean? So the blessing is different. There's a special bracha that one is supposed to make when he hears good news, which is the bracha of Baruch Hashem, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shechionu, or there is another bracha which one makes when he hears good news, which is Baruch Atah Hashem hatoiv v'hameitiv. Yet when one hears bad news, he's meant to make a bracha Baruch dayin ha'emes. So it's a different bracha, it's a different blessing. So how can the Gemara say that the same blessing, that is just like you make a blessing over here, you make a blessing over there? So the Gemara answers, Likabuli b'simcha. That when we're comparing the two, we're saying, just like when you hear good news, you have to be happy, so too when you hear bad news, the nusach, the bracha itself that you're saying is a different bracha. But you still have to be happy. The happiness is the same. How is one meant to be happy about bad things that happen to him? So the Alter Rebbe explains this by pointing out that there's something called Alma de Iskasia, and then there's Alma de Isgalia. And Alma de Iskasia are the levels of God which are concealed, the parts of Him which we don't understand why He's doing things. And Alma de Isgalia are the parts of what He's doing that's revealed to us. And he explains that when something is not understood, it comes across to us in a way that it seems like it's bad. But in essence, this is good as well. The famous quote of Gam zu l'toiva, Gam zu l'toiva, this too is for the good. So the Alter Rebbe talks about that, and the Alter Rebbe explains that whenever something bad happens to a person, he has to understand that everything is for his benefit, and even though he doesn't see it now, but nevertheless, it is really for his good. There's different ways of looking at this concept itself. What does it mean that it's for the good? What kind of good will come from it? There are numerous stories of people that they had to catch a train or catch a plane and they missed their flight, and then there was some kind of tragedy which happened on the train or the plane, and which then later they understood why it was for their benefit. There are other kind of examples of when for someone's benefit. There's a different story where there was one person that he once came to a certain tzaddik to complain about his wife. His wife was very...
Someone left this in my house. No.
Maybe mine.
Me?
Yeah.
It's yours? You need a tea?
I have
So there was this person that came to the tzaddik complaining about his wife. The shlom bayis wasn't the greatest. And the tzaddik told him just to stick it out, continue that way. And eventually the situation just continued and wasn't getting better. So finally the person divorced his wife. He couldn't handle it anymore. And then afterwards he got sick, and I think he passed away, or he almost passed away. But the tzaddik later explained that it was decreed in heaven that this person has to live in this world with a certain ailment, with a certain kind of negativity. That's what he needed to continue to live in this world. And once he gave up on it and divorced his wife, now his mission in this world was complete. He wasn't able to continue living here. So there's many different ways how a bad thing is really for the benefit, for the good. But the general understanding is that when something bad happens to you, even though you don't understand what's the reason for it, you should know that Gamzu, the Taiva, this is all for the best. There's really a point in this for good. And that's what the Gemara is saying, and this is what the Alter Rebbe says. And this is the general understanding. Later in Tanya, the other two places, the Alter Rebbe points out two other ways of looking at this concept. either as a test or as, in essence, as good right now, not only for the good. But this is, like I said, in chapter 26, this is what Dr. Rabbi says. The solution, if something as bad is happening to you, the understanding has to be that whatever Hashem is doing to me is all for the best, and there must be good over here, even though I don't understand it. And he says, when Mashiach will come, then we'll understand it. And he brings the pasuk where it says that when Mashiach will come, v'oyavav ketzeis hashemesh b'gvurosoi elu asmechim b'yisurim. That people that are happy when they have yisurim, when they have hardships in life, when Mashiach will come, they will be under the sun when the sun comes out in its full glory. Which means that the sun right now has a case covering over it. Today the science calls it the ozone layer, but something similar to that. There's some kind of protective shield on the sun that we should not be able, that the ultra, whatever they call it, the different rays that the sun gives out shouldn't hurt us. But when Mashiach will come, it says Hashem will take the sun out of its sheath, and then it'll be able to shine upon us, and we'll get so much more benefits from it. It says that the wicked people will indeed get hurt by all the bad rays, whatever comes out of the sun, but the righteous people will gain from it, and it'll cure them and heal them, bring them to a better place. Chassidus explains that we're not just talking about the sun, the physical sun, we're talking about godliness. Right now, godliness is concealed. We don't feel Hashem wherever we walk down the street. We don't see Hashem creating the world at all times. Yet we know that Hashem is here all the time, but it's concealed. When Mashiach will come, we will see Hashem without anything that's covering over it.
That's straight from the Gemara.
This is I think it's actually
On the
Zohar.
Zara.
No, it's probably Gemara. Yes, I don't remember right now. It's Chazal. I don't remember. If it's,
Yeah, no, it's just in Avodah Zara.
oh, so it is over there. So you do know. Okay, good. So the Rabbi explains the connection. Everything is, it has to be midah connected midah. Based on a certain behavior, that's the reward that you get. So why is it that those tzaddikim that are happy with hardships, what's the connection to the reward that they'll get the sun in its full glory? So he explains that when someone is happy, even though there are hardships in his life, that means that this person understands that right now Hashem is taking care of me. And even though seemingly it seems like I just lost my flight and it's very messes up my schedule and everything is not working out the way it's supposed to work out, but I'm not looking at the external circumstances, I'm looking at something deeper. And I realize that Hashem is the one that's really taking care of it all, and I'm happy to be connected to Hashem, even though externally it doesn't look so well. So when someone's happy with hardships, he's basically saying, I don't care about all the outside layers. I just care about Hashem himself. Hashem is taking care of me, so I'm happy for that. So midah keneged midah, when Mashiach will come, Hashem says, I will show you then, you'll have ketzeis Hashemesh b'gvurosei. You'll have godliness without any external layers. Since you're happy for what it really is, so therefore I'll keep you that way. Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I asked this the other night too, and I understand from Tanya.
How
How do we distinguish between divine providence and Yitzhak?
I think there's two answers to that question. One answer is whatever you do and whatever other people do to you. So whatever I do, it's not necessarily divine providence because I chose to do something, so that's negative. But things that happen to me are usually divine. That's even if somebody chose to hurt me, and seemingly could have chose differently, but it was divine providence that I should get hurt or insulted or whatnot. And the second answer would be, it depends on the past and the future. Whatever happened in the past is already divine providence, as it should have happened, even though I chose to do so. Whatever will happen it's my choice to either follow my Yitzhak or not. So this is like a little bit of oxymoron that we're saying that whatever you choose to do now, it depends on you. Whatever you chose to do when you look a moment ago, that's already divine providence. But that we connected to there's a sikh of the Rabbi. The Rabbi talks about nimna nimnois, where Hashem can do anything, even an oxymoron. So therefore, in that level, Hashem can make that. Before I do it, it's my choice, and after I did it already, it was divine providence.
So the elder Rabbi at some point said that the Yitzhak is very sneaky, very smart, and that what the Yitzhak will do is convince you to do mitzvahs, but for the wrong reason. And that as you continue to do mitzvahs for the wrong reason, eventually you'll idol worship.
So the solution for that is the Rabbi always says you have to have a selach harav. Seder Chorav is you have a mentor, and every once in a while you run through your Seder Avoda with him. You tell him what you're doing and what the reasons are. And usually someone that's outside of the picture has more of an objective view. He'll be able to guide you and tell you if this is the right reasons or the wrong reasons. In most cases, a person, someone that's imprisoned can't redeem himself. So often enough, two friends, our Hasidim, will help each other out, and each one can point out to the other one his faults and his Aveda because he's somebody else and he has an objective view. But yeah, most of us really can't pinpoint on our own what's the right reasons. There's a famous story, it's a very big tzaddik, the Chernobyl tzaddik, in times of the Mizitcher Magid, way back to the Baal Shem Tov, that one time somebody came into him and gave him a large amount of money for tzedakah. And I think right afterwards, or right before that, there was a poor man that wanted to marry off his child, and he needed a large amount of money. So his first thought was to give that money to that poor man. But then he thought to himself, I think it was 300 rubles, if I'm not mistaken, that was the number, which at that time was a large sum. Then he thought to himself, I can either support one family for a chasana, or I can divide this up into 10 amounts of 30 rubles each, and I can support 10 families, each one of them for a few months. So what's more important? And he locked himself up in a room for a while, for a long time. He was trying to think, what's the right thing? Either way is a mitzvah, but what's the right thing? And at the end, he concluded that the original thought was the right thought, because that was his first idea, he had an opportunity to do a mitzvah, let me do it. So that was, what came later was coming to detract him from the original mitzvah, so that was wrong.
Just how to do it.
Yeah, but even how to do the mitzvahs, he had to think and to see what's the right thing. So he's a tzaddik, he was able to come up with a solution on his own, and he gave us some directive. But for most of us, when there's a problem, then you have a mentor, and then the mentor helps you out. I heard that there was a rabbi in Israel, his name was Rabbi Ephraim Wolf. He was in charge of most of the organizations in Israel, the yeshivas, and other organizations, and he often would have to call up the Rebbe to ask, what should I do? He had decisions he had to make within a while, an hour or two. What should I tell this government official, or what should I ask for, or what should I write? So he once asked the Rebbe, he says, sometimes because of the time difference, I can't really call. It's at night in Israel, or if it's in America, it's the middle of the night, I can't call, what should I do then? And it's a time-sensitive matter, and I need an answer right now. So the Rebbe told him, in such a case, open a Gemara, and learn Gemara for a half hour, or 20 minutes, however much time you have, and the first thought that enters your mind when you're done, that's the right answer. Because you just connected to Hashem by learning Torah now, so you picked yourself up now. So any thought that enters your mind, that's probably the right thing to do. So it's not I don't know if that's an answer for everybody, different people might still have to go to their mentor, but the concept is that there's that problem of how to know what's right and where is it coming from is going to take, it's really hard.